One of the most frustrating things about Battlefield 6 is... No, not that. It's trying to find the best controller settings to fit your playstyle. If you're using the default controller settings or haven't taken time to fine-tune your controller settings in Battlefield 6, you're basically playing with a broken controller. They are hands down the worst feeling controller settings I've ever experienced in any game, and I'm not even exaggerating. Now, trying to find the best controller settings to fit your playstyle takes hours a day of practicing. Let's face it, most players like yourself don't have the time or even want to do that. But lucky for you, I have spent more than 420 hours doing just that. I have tried and practiced with just about every setting in the game, and I finally found the best controller settings, in my opinion, that any player can use and be successful with. Using these settings, I am currently in the top 4% in player kills, assists, revives, and top 2% in objectives captured globally. In today's video, I'll break down the best controller settings, and if you stick around to the very end, I'll go over a few bonus settings that are going to help you become a better player. The first thing we want to go over is probably the most important setting, or one of the most important, is going to be this. Your dead zones and your the overall sensitivity is what is going to make your controller feel really sluggish. Okay, so we're going to focus on the center and the right dead zones, or the center dead zone for your right and left stick. Now, the higher this number, the more pressure you have to put on your stick before your stick tells the game, okay, now it's time to start moving. So I have mine set at 4. The lower you go, if you have an older controller, the lower you go on this, you might be, I'm just going to show you here. So if I put this all the way down to 0, I go back into the game. If I just barely move my stick, you notice how it's still, my stick is moving right now. It's moving on its own. I'm not even pushing down anything. We don't want that. So you want to go in here, you want to adjust your dead zones accordingly. You want it down the lowest possible without having any type of stick drift. So if I go back here and I put my back at 4, now my controller is a little bit older, so it still moves even though I have it at 4, but it just doesn't move that much. So it's perfect for me. As you can see here, go back, it's not moving. Good. All right, so now to kind of over exaggerate this, just so you actually know what I'm talking about, back at controller tuning. Now if I over exaggerate this and I just put these both to the max, which is terrible, you don't want, where's my, okay, there it is. All right, now if I put those all at the max here, now look how much pressure it actually has to take me before my person starts to move here. So I'm here, over. See right here, I'm almost all the way completely over, and the character is just barely moving on the screen. All right, this is terrible. So go back in, adjust these. I think 4 is perfect. Like I said, if you have a newer controller, you could probably set this down to, you know, as low as possible, as long as your character is not moving stick drift. So starting point is going to be 4. Now, a good way to find sensitivity for you is going to be this little target switch drill here. I firmly believe that 42 sensitivity is going to be perfect for most people, but as always, everyone doesn't play the same. You can adjust it as needed, but a good way to find out if this is good for you is doing this target switch drill here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna move my left stick. This is gonna be focused on my right stick. What I want to do is I want to be able to switch between these targets here. We're gonna go, the first thing we're gonna do is go nice and slow. We're gonna switch between these 3 targets. You want to make sure everything's smooth, everything's not like jerky. We don't want to be going way over here. Okay, that means your sensitivity is too high. Lower it. So nice and smooth here. Okay, once we get the hang of this and you feel like, all right, the sensitivity might be working out, now we want to move a little bit more advanced. Is you want to kind of flick off this middle target to either left or right, target switching. We're going to flick the stick now, and it's going to be the same thing. We don't want to end up way over here if we're going for this target right here, because that means, you know, again, sensitivity is too high, lower it, but 42 is going to be good. So we're going to quickly move from target to target here. You can see here, I'm not overshooting because I've been playing on this sensitivity for a while, so I'm really used to it. And what we want is, of course, you want to be, you know, center mass as much as possible. But if in a perfect world, that's what we want. But you know, it's not going to be like that, especially when these hard targets start to move. It's going to be hard. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to end up way over here, because that means your sensitivity is way too high. You have to adjust it, go down. And we don't want to undershoot it every single time. That means your sensitivity is too slow. But like I said, this is a good starting point, and this is a good drill to figure out your perfect sensitivity. All right, now that we have our dead zones and our sensitivities locked down, I'm just gonna kind of scroll through these ones and stop the important ones. So field of view, you want this anywhere between 110 and 120. If it's anything lower than 110, everything's gonna be super zoomed in. I can just kind of show you real quick. Everything's gonna be super zoomed in right here, and it's just the movement's gonna feel slower. It's not gonna feel snappy. That, not to mention, if there's somebody just off the side right here, this target from this left guy, you're not gonna be able to see him. Field of view. If I go back to what I had it at 110, now we can see a lot more. Obviously, why isn't it going? Come on, you can do it, dude. Now you can see a lot more. Before you could just barely see, just past this left guy. So it's a better field of view. So like I said, between 110 and 120, you'd be good to go. All right, next is going to be your vertical aim ratio. You want to keep this at least pretty even. I should have this. I don't know why that's up right there. You want to have this pretty low, or pretty close to your aim sensitivity. It's going to make just everything feel a little bit even. So this is going to be the same sensitivity when you're aiming down sights. It's going to be, of course, vertical. I'm moving on from vertical aim ratio, this uniform aiming. I see a lot of people going back and forth. Some people say it's better to have it off for muscle memory. Some people have it on. I've tried both ways. I feel like having uniform aiming on, everything feels even, like your aim from your hip fire. So when you're aiming down sights, it just feels way smoother and it's more consistent. So keep it on. Your zoom sensitivity coefficient 178. Your aim assist, and this is another one. I see some people, they have this off completely because they say it throws off their aim, but the whole thing about using a controller is using the aim assist. So why would you have it anything other than 100%? So 100%. Now these aim curves, this is another one that a lot of people go back and forth on. Some people have it on standard. I feel like standard just feels like a little bit too sluggish. I found out that the BF1 and BF4 is going to be really, really smooth and fluent. The one thing I kind of go over here is this left and right acceleration. Okay, this is going to be how fast the controller is going to accelerate to move with your controller. It's really hard to explain. So if I'm going right here, you see how it takes a little bit to ramp up. I don't know if you can see that. It starts slow and then it ramps up. Now, if I have this all the way up, if I just decide I'm a psychopath, I'm gonna put this all the way up, exaggerate this like I just said. And now if it's at 0, it's gonna be super responsive here and it's gonna accelerate. It's kind of hard to explain and see on camera. This is one that you have to kind of mess with to feel how it is. But now there's no delay. It's gonna reach the full speed potential as fast as possible. But the only thing with this is it's gonna really mess with your aim. Okay, it's gonna make it feel. For me, if I have it all the way set to 0, it feels too responsive and it throws off my aim when I'm trying to flick from target to target. I feel like 30 is the perfect sweet spot for this. So put it at 30, adjust accordingly. For these ones, infantry sprint, I have mine on toggle. All these are preference here. Now I do kind of go back and forth on this stick sprint forward. So all this is going to do is as soon as you push on your stick, don't want to do that. As soon as you push on your stick, it's just going to sprint for you, which the game feels a lot smoother when you have that on. But the only thing you have to worry about is when you're going prone and you're aiming down sights, or even if you're just laying there, as soon as you push your stick up, he's gonna go off prone, which it can kind of throw a lot of people off. A lot of people don't like that. So what I'll do is when I decide the times I do have this on is you have to just be aiming on sights every single time you're kind of crawling around, which isn't a big deal, but some people don't like it. Because you'll accidentally, like I said, you'll bump your stick and you'll come off. If you're behind cover and of course you don't want that to happen. So just make sure if you have it on your ADS and you're not going to come out of this prone position. I'm moving on. Of course, some of these are default I didn't mess with, but some of them I did. I'll mention the ones I did here. So I have mine on set to crouch. So your toggle sprint. What this is going to do is if you're sprinting and you're crouched, he's not going to come out of the crouch position here. He's going to stay crouched. And this is very useful when you're behind cover and you're trying to move, trying to go from point to point and you don't want to be seen. This is really good here. Now if I change it to stand and I go to sprint, he's going to come up out of his stance, which I don't really like. Some people like it because if they slide, they come right away up to their feet and start sprinting again. I don't like that. I like to be able to stay crouched and sprint around the map to kind of stealth when needed. Crouch to slide here. This one off. Infantry weapon zoom, you want this on hold. I'm moving on. Now another one that's very, very important is what messes with a lot of people is this infantry zoom sensitivity. This is going to be the same sensitivity that we just went over. The only difference is it's going to be when you're ADS and when you're aimed down sights. Now I have mine maxed out. I did that for this video as an example. This is what it's going to look like if your sensitivity is too high. Now we do the same target switching drill, but as you can see, it's super hard to control. I can't get it to stay on that right target. See, this is what it's gonna look like. This is obviously, you don't want this right here. You want to be close to your target here. And this is what it looks like if your sensitivity is too fast. You can't stay on target. The time to kill in this game is super fast, so you want your sensitivity lower, so that way you're able to really stick on your target. I see some people, they have the sensitivity way up high, which they think it's easier. They think it's better because you're moving around the map a little bit faster and really snappy. But in reality, yeah, you could be having that fast movement, but if you can't center on your target and you know, hit your shots, it doesn't mean anything. You're just gonna die to someone. So since a slower sensitivity is the best, and these ones don't matter. If you have your the soldier aim, the uniform aiming, if you have it off, all these zoom sensitivities come into play a lot more. Since my uniform aiming is on, everything's kind of even, so you don't even have to adjust with any of these, so just kind of ignore those. The one we want to focus on is this one right here, though. I feel like 85 is the perk sensitivity, so it's going to be the same thing. We're going to go to this drill here. You know, we're going to be flicking back and forth. Want our crosshair to stay, you know, relatively close to the target without overshooting it. You see here, this is perfect for me. We're staying on target here. Like I said, if your sensitivity is too high, you're gonna end up way over here, which we don't want. So put it at 85. Like I said, if it feels too fast for you, it's too slow, adjust this drill that I just did. You know, it's really gonna help you nail down your perfect sensitivity. But I firmly believe 85 is really good. You know, try it out. If you don't like it, adjust. And a lot of these are just personal preference. Prioritize interact. Now that those controller settings are out of the way, though, like I said, those are the most important ones. I'm just kind of go through here and just kind of go through everything else. And I'll kind of point out the ones that are, you know, unnecessary. You know, the controller mapping, I didn't change too many things except for aiming and shooting. By default, you can see these back sticks here. By default, these back triggers, it has it set to aim and shoot. I didn't like that. I switched mine to these front bumpers here. This is what I aim to shoot with. Aim and shoot. And then I just changed my back buttons to the left one is the ping and my right one is for grenade. I just feel like it's, you know, smoother. The good thing about this having this PlayStation controller too is you have this not only do you have the two buttons. Let me get out this menu so you can see a little bit. So the good thing is not only do I have these two back buttons, is which I have bound to jump and then crouch. So this isn't really, it's not really that great in this game, but I'm able to kind of jump around corners without taking my thumbs off the stick here. I'm going to kind of jump around the corners if I have to, or just kind of jump, and I could get into a slide, into a jump here. It just makes everything so much more fluid with having these back buttons. All right, if you don't have these back buttons, first of all, I highly suggest you get one of these controllers that have back buttons. I'll link some in the video. I'll link this controller that I use, and I'll link a couple ones that are a little bit cheaper. But like I was saying before, a good thing with the controller is this, you know, this middle touchpad here. I get my mouse, this middle touchpad. So not only do I have these buttons in the back, but this touchpad actually acts as, I think it's 1, 2. It has like touch swipes. So I have the two buttons in the back, and then I also have, you know, I can go up, down, left, and right, and those all do something different. I don't think it'll do here. Yeah, it actually switches here. So if you notice in the bottom of my screen here, oh, you can't see it now, but it has a little arrow on my my touchpad. So all I have to do here is if I swipe to the left, it's gonna bring out, oh, it's already out. If I swipe to the left, it's gonna bring out one of my gadgets here. And then if I switch to the right, it brings out the other one. And then the class ability, I have it as up. And down, I think I have down is just kind of going prone. Yeah, down goes prone. Sorry, you couldn't see that. If I swipe down, it goes prone. This is good for if I'm just kind of running around and I need to like dive, I can just hit that, it'll dive. So really this controller has, you know, the two buttons in the back, so 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you could also push on it too, 7. So really the controller has 7 buttons that you can mess with. If you're playing with it with a default controller, you know, if you at least want to be somewhat competitive, if you care at all, or if you just want everything to be easier, I suggest you get this PlayStation Edge. I'll link it in the description, and then I'll link another one, of course. All right, moving on. Like I said, all these are personal preference. I'll just kind of scroll through here real quick, and if you guys want, you can kind of just slow the video down or, you know, pause it or whatever. But like I said, the only thing I really changed was, you know, the swipe gestures and the how I aim and shoot. The ground vehicles, I haven't like messed with really these at all. I just kind of left them as default because I don't really use vehicles. You know, I'm mostly infantry. Same thing with the aircraft, helicopter here. You know, gunner settings. A lot of these are default. And then for us to controller tuning, this is what we went. This is what we went through in the very beginning. I want to go through that first because if I were to went through everything else and then do this last, it would have threw everything off. So, and these thresholds, I just have, you know, I just put the thresholds all the way down to 0. All right, guys, if you guys made it this far in the video, I really do appreciate you. If you found any value in this video, a like would be, you know, greatly appreciated. Also consider subscribing to the channel. Like I mentioned in this video, I feel like these settings are the absolute best, especially for me. But these settings, anyone can use and do very well. You know, like I said, stated before, you know, I'm top 4%, and I think, you know, kills and like top 2% objectives captured. I forget exactly what it was, but you know, I'm not claiming I'm the best by any means, but I am a very, you know, good player. I will say that. And these settings are a very important part to it. I put, you know, 400 hours into this game. Finally found the perfect settings for me. There's some things you could adjust, like sensitivity. It's, you know, personal preference, but everything else, you know, really try these settings out and stick with them. Practice with them if you can. You know, these settings are really going to benefit you, you know, greatly. Appreciate you watching this video. See you guys next time, and always remember, chase your dreams because your dreams don't chase you. Peace.